Well, we're practicing using some SATCOM equipment to provide effects in support of the Indo-PACOM theater. I'm a space NCOIC crew leader, so basically we provide space control, space effects in support of a multitude of missions. Like a space control is like we provide like defensive space control, so we can observe all the signals that the SATCOM signals, so we can have a better understanding of the space, like space domain awareness. We can understand more what we're doing and what our enemy's doing, what everyone's doing in all of space related domain. That's a Hawkeye. It's a 1.2 meter dish. So it's used to collect signals that are coming from space, from satellites that are up in space. Well, it's pretty small, and we haven't had a chance to get around and get to know a lot. We've been pretty busy, but it's really humid. But it's really nice to just walk out, look out your window, and see the waves coming in, and it's really beautiful. I like it.
The MDTF, Multi-Domain Task Force, is the newest formation in the Army of how it is transforming the approach to warfare. So it is a combination of multiple disciplines into a new approach to support the joint force. And here in the Pacific, we provide a range of capabilities from long-range precision fires with the integration of the non-kinetics. And that's the power of the task force with a battalion within it, because it integrates space, cyber, EW, intel, and signal to converge effects against targets of interest. The Multi-Domain Effects Battalion, the MDEB, is the horsepower behind and what gives the multi-domain portion of the task force. It is a combination of space, cyber, electronic warfare, military intelligence, and signal. So it allows you to converge the non-kinetic side to integrate with the kinetic side to support targets.
Okay.
And how we support the joint force is we are aligned to USARPAC, U.S. Army Pacific, with a mission, so we're a theater asset. Unlike other organizations which are lower echelon, we're a theater asset and we're designed and tailor-made to integrate with Joint Force with our communication systems and our sensor suites. So what we're doing here in Kwaj is JPMRC, the Joint Pacific Multinational Readiness Center, and it is a training center here in the Pacific. So just like NTC or JRTC on the mainland, this is a chance for the units Pacific to go forward, so we're not sending our equipment back amongst the mainland. We can practice in our environments and work with our allies and partners. And part of this rotation, we're a split operations. We have forces there on Oahu, we have forces on the Big Island, and then we have forces out here on Kwajalein. And we're practicing our long-range communications and synchronization of long-range fires and effects with non-kinetic effects to support the rotational unit doing operations there on PTA. JPMRC, the Joint Pacific Multinational Readiness Center, is the Army's approach to providing a world-class training center for units in the Pacific. Previously, units such as 25th ID or now 11th Airborne Corps up in Alaska, 11th Airborne Division up in Alaska, had to ship their equipment back and do training back on the mainland, either NTC or JTRC. And it was a loss of training value because they had to ship their equipment back in the months of not. Plus, it's hard to bring allies and partners. JPMRC changes it and says, no, we're going to change the environment. And General Flynn has made as a priority that we're going to train, execute, and interoperability with our partners in the environment that we're going to operate in. And so now we have three rotations are conducted a year, one on Oahu, one in Alaska, and then one forward. Really focusing on the interoperability with allies and partners in the real training environment and the operational environments that we'd work in. JPMRC supports USAPAC's integration deterrent objectives by allowing us to practice in the environment and bring our allies and partners and increase the interoperability with not just the U.S. forces, but the allies and partners in the region, as well as practice exercises and experiment with equipment in realistic environments, such as here on an archipelago in Kwajalein. Kwajalein Garrison has been awesome with enabler and training, from supporting us, giving us life support, to allowing us the EOC facilities to set up equipment, to use some of their existing infrastructure capabilities to connect our equipment to just the people on the island helping us out. We have a need, we have asked a question, Garrison has been more than willing and helpful with bringing us, from talking with and then meeting with these subordinate units and the tenant units on the island to support our training and learning what we're doing and how can we integrate our exercises and our capabilities with what they provide here. So what we brought here and how we are designed to operate is unlike other battalions that deploy, pick up and deploy as the full battalion to support an operation. The Multi-Domain Effects Battalion and the task force itself, as all task force, is modular. So we develop mission-tailored force packages. We call them multi-domain cells, and this is how we support operations. And so we're given the task, we're told, hey, this is your mission and objectives, and from there we look at the skill sets across the task force, and we pull them together and say, this is what the cell is going to be. And so for this cell here, to practice our ability to do long-range comms and sensing in the environment, what we've done is we pulled together our space, electronic warfare, and signal company, soldiers into it, and brought equipment, and now we made it one cell. We have a cell on PTA, it's practicing long-range sensing and comms, and so it's just EW and signal been in there. And then we have a long-range fires element that we're integrating with out in Palau. And so that's mainly focused on the long-range fires piece from the task force itself, as well as the comms. And so we build the packages based off of what the mission requirement is for that location. So what we do as a battalion is important to the nation because we're doing two things. One, we're helping to modernize how the Army is going to operate, how we bring new capabilities and new equipment online faster for large-scale combat operations and multi-domain operations, how we synchronize and integrate non-kinetic effects with long-range fires. And then how we support the nation as we work forward, and we're designed to work with the Joint Force and with our partners, allies in theater. And so we're practicing TTPs and learning new techniques and integrating and learning to talk the joint language and our multi-partner language. And so we integrate into, and then we work forward into the environment. So we have a presence there to help support national objectives and show that we're here for it, and we're designed to build that, keep the free and open Indo-Pacific.
I'm a communications officer. Communications is essentially How do we develop lines of communication for a commander or for an organization? How do we extend those lines of communication? How do we encrypt those lines of communication? And then the focus with MDTF is providing low emission, low signature communication packages. I extend lines of communication for the commander to enable him to make decisions. So right now, where we are right now in Kwaj, we have 3 other nodes, one in Oahu, one on Big Island, and then one that's moving to Palau. Our guys right now are trying to conduct a high frequency shot from here back to Oahu and transmit voice and data. We operate in small nodes, and depending on what the requirement is, the package will shift and adjust. So we have small, medium, and light packages. At the end of the day, what it is the size of the equipment that we're employing for the end user. Some equipment is large and has a large signature, and logistically it's difficult to transport and move. Some equipment is very, very small. So depending on what the mission is and what the requirements are, we'll tailor our package to where we're going, to what we're doing, and to what the environment looks like. So right now, we've had voice communications about 2,500 miles back to Oahu over HF. We're working on sending data packages from here as well. We have a bunch of organizations that are working with us, 5th SBAB, 2nd Brigade Combat Team, and then us at 3rd MDTF. And we're kind of figuring out the kinks of how to better transmit data over HF, which is a low signature emission. I'm a company commander. I've got 34, 35 guys and gals. I love them. They're great. They're from all over the place. It's a new organization, so MDTF, or 3rd MDTF, has only been around for a little bit over a year. And a lot of them, come from really everywhere, all types of units. And the multi-domain concept is something new to them. It's something new to me. They're my troops. I love being their commander. It's my job to love them.
Okay. Hi, morning. I'm Lito Gamag. I'm an engineer or the supervisor of PII. So we've been working here for almost a month for this demolition project of these housing facilities here at Garrison. So we just started crushing all these facilities last August 21. So far, we already completed around, I think, 10 facilities that have been demolished. And as you can see, some areas already has been, debris has been disposed. Even the concrete rubble has been disposed at the staging area. So hopefully for this one, maybe we can clear it out until next week. For everybody, just want to make it safe, then just don't come near in our demo project site and just stay away and just be cooperate. If we ever create some noise or everything that's something that bothers them, then just be patient. This is a demo project, so there's nothing we can do. Some houses is 4 doors, 6 doors, 5 doors. So maybe it's around half of it, 96, maybe around 40 houses, something like that we have already knocked out. Also some trees that is not beyond 5 feet, so we need to cut it down, and all the trees that are blocking our way, particularly when we start loading up some debris to the container, so we need to cut it down, but as much as possible we have to save some trees. Although there are some challenges, but we have to manage everything, because from day to day we are experiencing some challenging situations that we need to manage it. So everything's fine. My crew also are doing fine, and every time we are telling them to think for the safety first. Don't make the work rust. Everything they do, they have to think it twice, or not only twice, but a million times, so that everybody will be safe, and as much as possible, our goal here is zero accident. Yeah, it's gonna fun knocking of houses. So I would just like to thank them for giving us the opportunity for us, for the PAI, to come here and give this project for us to knock down or to help them to demolish some of these facilities that maybe they will put some new infrastructure for this one. So we are just glad that they give us this opportunity. If we knock some coconut, then maybe a lot already, and we have been already knocked down, I think, around 90 coconuts, something like that. So every time we knock down a coconut, then my crews are taking all these fruits and they just cut it and drink it. I think this fruit is good for the body, and it's good also for the health. And we have also a lot of coconut there in our country.
What is RTS's mission? And the RTS mission statement is the Ronald Reagan Ballistic Missile Defense Test Site is the nation's only long-range land impact test site, which provides world-class renowned test range capabilities for the continued development of future weapon and space systems, empowering the nation's leaders with the deterrence that citizens deserve. So there's a lot in that. There was a lot of thought that went into that mission statement, and it also answers the second part of your question, I think, which is how does that support the free Indo-Pacific and host nation allies? And I think that the key word in that is deterrence, right? So RTS is the honest broker, if you think about it like that, right? So anytime you're dealing with a test organization, we provide data. That's all that we provide. But through the testing that we do, we are validating what it is the scientists think they're creating. We're validating what Congress thinks that they're paying for, and we're validating what the citizens think that they're going to get as far as protection goes. It's not always good news that comes out of RTS as far as the data goes, but it is an honest look at what it is that's being developed and provided. So that's how we support the Indo-Pacific. But I think that something that's really important to note in that is that the systems that we're testing are used all over the world. So RTS really does expand well beyond the Army. It expands well beyond the Indo-Pacific. It really goes to the nation as a whole and its allies. So that testing, it really can't be overstated. RTS has a critical mission. And again, it's the only one of its kind. It's the only one that has the range, the land impact capability, with the sensor suite that we have associated with this atoll. How did I choose Kwajalein, and did I know about it prior to my arrival? The answer is kind of, right? So I knew about Kwajalein about a decade ago, so I did know about it, but I found out significantly after my first joining the service in 2005. So just a little bit of kind of backtracking a little bit, I actually started kindergarten in Hawaii, right? And so and my dad was active duty at the time, so I started kindergarten in Hawaii. We left that and we went all over the place, but we never kind of went back to this tropical assignment. And so when I was joining the Army, I remember thinking like, man, I hope there's a chance to get back into the Pacific and be kind of in that tropical place. And I always thought it would be Hawaii. Well, the whole time that I was an Apache pilot, they didn't have Apaches on Hawaii. So I thought, okay, this is never gonna happen for me. As soon as I joined acquisitions, 25th ID got Apaches. And so I was just like, okay, I missed that opportunity. But shortly after joining the Acquisition Corps, I got a brief from ironically, the Missile Defense Agency that was talking about some testing that they were doing, because they're obviously part of the acquisition construct for sure. They develop all kinds of futuristic weapons. But and so they had mentioned the Kwajalein Atoll, and I remember thinking like, oh, that is really, really fascinating. And then just on a personal side, I did a little bit of research on it, but it kind of stopped there. And so it was really one of those things that when it hit me with the option of actually coming here, I just remember going like, obviously there's a higher power, right? Because this is lining up for a reason, and it just felt like it was the right direction to go. So I was excited about it. My wife Sheila is excited about it, and all three of our boys were very, very excited about it. So